Hello again, you are just in time. We have got a fantastic evening's entertainment for you, and it's a date at Sandwell Aquatic Centre for the first of the 12 diving finals at Birmingham's Commonwealth Games, and it features Jack Law, an England flag bearer at the opening ceremony, and the man who made history as the first British diver ever to win an Olympic gold. And we've been joined by Tonya Couch, who is one of the teammates of this man, Jack Law, for a very long time. You are, goodness, let me get this, a European champion. You're a silver medalist at the Commonwealth Games, and you've been a standard bearer in the women's side of things for British diving for, well, probably more years than we probably want to say, but it's about 15, isn't it, Tonya, yeah?
It is, yeah, a long, long time. I do completely miss it, but it's really nice to be on this side watching these guys, so yeah. Super excited for the final.
Well, you retired, what, 2017, something like that?
Yeah, it's been a few years now, hasn't it?
Yes, but I wonder, even now, 5 years later, do you still get the butterflies on evenings like this?
I do, and even watching my friends on the TV, I'm not in control of them, so there's nothing I can do. So I'd probably get a little bit more nervous, I'd say.
Yeah, well, when you see the amount of responsibility and expectation that's heaped on Jack in particular, he's the standard bearer. He's defending 3 diving titles here at the Commonwealth Games. And yet he's had to step up, be the standard bearer, carry the flag for England in, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you think he's revelling in this now? Do you think he's in a good place to be able to shoulder being the main man, and certainly in Tom Daley's absence this time?
Oh, definitely. I think he's handled the pressure very, very well for many, many years. So fingers crossed for tonight. 1 metre is a little bit of a warm-up competition for him as he goes on to the 3 metre synchro tomorrow and the 3 metre individual. So a good warm-up, fingers crossed, and I'm sure he'll do absolutely amazing.
I'm sure he will. James Heatley of Scotland, very much in the mix as well. He's had a fantastic World Championships, came away with the 2 bronze medals. In fact, Tonya, you know, when you count it all up, I think it was 6 medals for Britain's divers, and that was something of a mark to really make people sit up and take notice. How much stronger and why has British diving in general become over the last 15 years?
It's crazy, because I actually seen it at the very, very beginning where diving wasn't really well known. I don't know, we've just worked well as a team. We're a really close family. We push each other, we train hard. We've just all of a sudden come from nowhere, and it's so magical to see.
Yeah, well, you are a platform diver. You prefer the great heights that many of us would actively avoid. Jack, obviously, is a springboard specialist. Technically speaking, where are the difficulties compared with your discipline from the top?
Well, with my discipline, obviously, you cannot be afraid of heights, simple. But the board is completely solid, so we don't need to worry about the springboard, whereas the springboard, it completely moves. And you might think it looks easy because, yes, it moves, but you have to time the board. For me, there was no hope on the springboard, so luckily I wasn't afraid of heights.
OK, but technically speaking, the 1 metre springboard is not an Olympic event.
No.
So what is the attraction of it, and why does it have this, well, quite revered place at the Commonwealth Games, really?
Well, it's good fun for the guys, and like I said earlier, it's a little bit of a warm-up competition for them, so it's nice that the 1 metre has gone first. They've got used to the boards, they've got used to the crowds, and then basically they'll go up into 3 metre. It's a little bit of a build-up. They'll do like 2.5 somersaults on the 1 metre, and then when they go on to 3 metre, they'll do 3.5, 4.5 somersaults. So completely different, but it's a good board.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're nearly there, Tonya, so let's have a quick look at who's taking part tonight, because we've got some really good names in this one, not least, of course, Jack himself. He is the defending champion. And you'll see the likes of Ross Beattie in there for Scotland. You've got Yona Knight Wisdom. He is likely to be there or thereabouts. For you, who are the danger men from the point of view of challenging Jack?
Might be his biggest competition.
Li Shixin, yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, he's been out of the sport for a while because he moved to Australia from China. I think that will probably be his only competition, but I think he'll be on form. He's got this. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, gosh, big call, big call. In qualifying this morning, he was 4th, but obviously none of those dives count in terms of being carried forward. This is a straight final. 6 dives, it's all on that. And how would you describe the nerves at the start of a diving competition? It's the first event. How do you reckon they'll be feeling at this point?
Oh, very, very nervous. I did actually see in the prelims, the crowd went completely wild, and I saw a little bit of a smirk on Jack's face. That was either a brilliant feeling or a little bit of a nervous feeling. So at least they've had that practice run.
Okay, let's get there then. We've got Leon Taylor, who knows a little bit about winning medals himself in the diving pool, and they've teamed up together with Catherine Downs. Are you guys all ready to go once again?
We are, Hazel. Thanks very much. 12 gold medals to be handed out here at the Sandwell Aquatic Centre over the next 5 days. The first of them, of course, in this 1 metre springboard, and that was Delanyan Fernando of Sri Lanka, the man who has won millions of fans around the world after this morning's prelims for an unfortunate mishap, Leon, which saw him landing flat on his face.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunate belly flop to finish his campaign this morning, but opening up, brushing away the bruises and just turning up there for his first dive and in with 1.5. Very simple. Low degree of difficulty, and we'll start to turn it up now. So Danny Mabbott
of Scotland, 18 years old, from Edinburgh, forward 2.5 somersaults in pike, 2.6 degree of difficulty.
Neat and tidy. So Danny had a bit of a mixed afternoon, and he'll be looking to build on a bit of a shaky prelim by his standards. He's only 18 years old, so first Commonwealth Games. Lots of experience, soaking it all up. There's plenty of support for our home nations here this evening.
Yeah, lots of St George's crosses. The Saltire I can see flying up in the stands away to the left-hand side of these divers. Ross Beattie, another Scotsman, 22 years old, opening with the same dive, forward 2.5 somersaults.
So following his countryman, 4 years older, a little bit more experience, but not much. Beautiful board timing, dipping his toes in the water, bending the diving board down so much. So building up, you'll see some of the athletes doing forward 3.5. That's when you really start to get the degrees of difficulty. So
54.60 for Ross Beattie. Bryden Hattie qualified in 8th spot.
He started well in the early parts of the prelim and then seemed to fade as he went on. So again, part of the young Canadian team, picking up the mantle from those before. Here he is, his first Commonwealths.
7.5s across the board to count. That's a solid start with a 2.6 degree of difficulty for the Canadian. Good to see Liam Stone back in international competition. Missed Tokyo because of a serious back injury. That put him out of action for 18 months.
It's a long time.
Managed to avoid surgery, rehabbed his way back onto the boards.
He's looking strong, he's neat and tidy. And that is what the judges will be admiring, and they will be awarding points for that. Beautiful pike shape, not a glimmer of air or light in between the chest and the thighs. Toe point, really smooth entry into the water. 8s, 8.5s. Maybe because he's from New Zealand, not quite earning those favourable marks, but still a good start from Liam.
This guy's an exciting diver to watch. 3.1 degree of difficulty, inward 2.5 somersaults for Cedric Fofana to open up. 18 years old from Montreal. Canadian team have high hopes for him for the Paris Olympics in 2024.
Yeah, he's got something about him, hasn't he? 18, he's got a big list of dives. This inward 2.5 in the tuck position. Yeah, this is one to watch. Whether he will be a danger man today, I'm going to reserve my judgment on that. 68.2, that'll put him top of the leaderboard. There's competition starting to hot up now.
A very similar physique to this man as well. Yona Knight-Wisdom, 6'2". Cedric Fofana also tall and rangy. Jamaican Yona, reverse 1.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists.
No, I did mention dunking the board in the water, and no one does a dunk like this man. So strong, so powerful. It actually isn't advantageous, as you can imagine, dipping the board into the water and getting the water up to your ankles almost. Yona just losing his feet there, helicopter feet on the finish. The judges can clearly see that, so only 7.5s. Could have been a little bit more if he was feet together.
Listen to the roar. For Jack Law, the defending champion, world silver medalist from the 1 metre springboard in Budapest last month, and looking to defend 3 Commonwealth gold medals that he won 4 years ago on the Gold Coast. This is the first of them.
Oh, here we go, just about saving that dive there, Kat. I was almost going to start my celebrations, but then I paused. As you can just see there, Jack a little bit keen to get that dive in. Splash just opening his chest as he goes in. So you'll get 7.5, gets an 8.
Oh, there's an 8 in there. That's very useful.
It's good, but he would want to be a bit further up than that to put some pressure on Shizin Lee, because there's some good diving still to come.
And this young man produced some excellent diving in the preliminaries. Jordan Holden qualifying ahead of Jack Law for this final in 3rd spot. The 24-year-old from Sheffield, British silver medalist in both the 1 metre and the 3 metre.
And that is a huge dive to start with. This is a game of tactics. Jordan coming out with his hardest dive at 3.4 degree of difficulty, and he has absolutely put that down. He's going to get over 80 points for that dive because it's 3.4 degree of difficulty, and he's absolutely nailed it. Boom.
Look at that.
Here we go.
8s for Jordan Holden. Struggled with those tougher dives in the preliminaries this morning. Not so much this evening.
No, he looked a little bit nervous this afternoon, and here he is now, full of confidence.
James Heatley for Scotland, Commonwealth bronze medalist on the 1 metre. That historic medal 4 years ago for Scotland, their first for 60 years in the diving pool, getting his campaign underway with a 3.2 degree of difficulty forward, 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist in pike.
And another one stepping up. So James' hurdle step was a little bit here and there on the first dive this morning. He didn't quite get that clean entry into the water. He'll still earn 7s. He'll be a little bit disappointed he didn't quite keep all of the splash down. It's a big degree of difficulty. You can see Jen leaving there, chatting to him. That arm movement means didn't quite move your hands as you were entering the water, keeping the splash down. Okay.
Here's the danger
Final
man
diver.
For Jack Law then, Lee Shizin of Australia, 2 times a world champion from the 1 metre back in 2011 and 2013, and the world bronze medalist behind Jack in Budapest earlier this year. Reverse 1.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists to start.
Yep, Shizin is solid, experienced, 34 years old. So many competitions under his belt, so many dives. Extraordinary story, rocking up as a coach in Australia and then decided, well, hang on, I can still do this. A bit of the old Top Gun, isn't it? Well, I'll show you how to fly the plane. Here he is, showing us how to dive 1 metre.
Showing us how to win world medals again, 9 years after his last. But look at those standings after the opening round of dives. Jordan Holden head and shoulders above the rest because of that high degree of difficulty with his opening dive. Lee of Australia in silver medal, with Jack Law currently in bronze medal position. James Heatley just behind him by a fraction of a point. Danny Mabbott, Ross Beattie of Scotland down in 9th, tied on 54.60.
5 rounds of dives to go.
So back we go to the top of the list. And our Sri Lankan 23-year-old Delanyan Fernando, inward 2.5 somersaults in tuck.
It's a big dive for Delanyan. You can just see how he can't quite work the diving board as well as the other athletes. Hitting the water as he's exiting the dive, so the judges will penalise him heavily for that. But to be fair, I've watched a few in training that weren't as good as that, so he's stepping up in this final. And it's good to see the only diver from Sri Lanka representing here at these Commonwealth Games.
3 divers representing Scotland. The first of them, Danny Mabbott, 18 years old, from Edinburgh. Back 1.5 somersaults, 2.3 degree of difficulty.
Neat and tidy, 2.3 degree of difficulty, which is low. Divers, of course, have to do a different dive every round of dives. They can choose the order, but they have to do different groups of dive. This is the backward group of dive, and opting for the back 1.5, 2.3, so it's difficult to get a high total score. But that's where he is in his progression at the moment.
Tied in 9th position was Danny Mabbott after the opening round with this man, his countryman, Ross Beattie. Back 1.5 somersaults in pike. It's the same dive for Ross as we've just seen from Danny.
They have a very similar list of dives, similar order. They're going like for a while. Oh, just allowing the dive to tip over a vertical. So if you watch on the replay, pike shape's good, just over he goes. You can see his hands moving apart as he goes underneath the water, just missing his grab a little bit. Slightly less than Danny, puts him behind on the leaderboard.
Bryden Hattie of Canada. Forward 3.5 again.
Well, it's a nice dive. I did mention this earlier. I don't see why he spins around with his feet flat. Should be toes pointed all the way. He points them on the exit of the dive and the entry into the water. It's like he's wearing a pair of hobnail boots all the way around, and that is not aesthetically pleasing.
Or very aerodynamic. Liam Stone for New Zealand, currently in 7th. Inward 2.5 somersaults in tuck, 3.1 degree of difficulty. Came back from that back injury after 18 months and won 3 national titles at the New Zealand National Championships. One of them, of course, from this height, 1 metre springboard.
It's a solid dive from Liam. It's one of his higher degree of difficulties. 3.1, inward 2.5 in the tuck position. Neat and tidy, straight up and down. 7s or around about that from the judges. A nice second round dive from our New Zealander.
Cedric Fofana just outside the medals in 5th at the moment. Made his Olympic debut in Tokyo for Canada.
Little bit of the old helicopter feet on the takeoff. The judges will be looking for the, look at that, almost like he was kicking a football.
He's got a habit of doing that.
Took a penalty on his takeoff. Look at that. Splits his feet, flapping around a little bit in the air with the ankles. So that's why the judges have hammered him there, really. Look at that, 6 5.5s, just.
And Jona was just behind him after round 1 in 6th. He came 5th in the 1 metre in 2014, 4th in the 1 metre 4 years ago on the Gold Coast. Can he go one better?
He has the potential to do that.
Back 2.5 somersaults in tuck. 3.0 degree of difficulty for Jamaica's Jona Knight-Wisdom.
Oh, almost, Jona, almost. It's a bit of a shame. He did all of the hard work. This is the hard work, the aerial work. Toes pointed, tight tuck shape, just doesn't quite finish off the dive there. So I'm not quite sure what happened. You can see a bit of splash being kicked up, a little bit of looseness in the body form. So Jona with some work to do.
Jack Law, chatting to him earlier, said that the adrenaline surging through him every time the crowd yelled his name is something he's going to have to combat this evening to get the job done. Currently in bronze medal position.
There you go, cool, calm and collected. Dive number 2 for Jack Law. A shaky start on round 1. Looking for a steady Eddie dive on round 2, and that's just what we've got. Gets such height from the diving board, drops in beautifully. Look at that, more like it.
8.5s to count, 76.50. Back in the mix.
So a little bit of pressure,
a
little bit of pressure on Jordan. Not as experienced as Jack.
Yeah,
let's see how he responds.
3.3 degree of difficulty. Gets his hardest dives out of the way first as Jordan forward 3.5 somersaults in pike.
Oh, well done, Jordan! What a response, lifting himself up in this final. Wow, what a dive. 3.3 degree of difficulty. This is exactly an entire somersault more than a lot of the athletes were able to complete in the first round. And Jordan making that DD count just shy of 80 points. Wow.
On 160.80, back up to the top of the standings. The big dives done in the bag. James Heatley.
Time to respond.
Yeah, got to keep up with the pace, James. Reverse 1.5 somersaults, 2.5 twists. 3.0 degree of difficulty for Scotland's James Heatley.
Just a little bit off on his entry into the water. The takeoff was good. Everything in the right place. He'll just be a bit annoyed. A little bit annoyed because he won't get 8s because of that little bit of splash being thrown up there. So not quite finding his groove yet. 2 dives down, 4 to go for James Heatley.
Yeah, it's just 0.2 of a point off the medal places, James. 67.50. That'll see Jack stretch away from him. And Lee Shijin of Australia then, the last to go. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist in pike, 3.2 degree of difficulty for the 2-time world champion.
Oh, he's a machine. Just dive after dive, so consistent in the prelims this afternoon. And once again, consistent with his first 2 dives in this final contest. The pressure's on him, he is starting last. He sees all the other divers go before him. He does not look put off at all, just doing his thing. He's not top of the leaderboard. Let's see.
Jordan Holden for England is top of the leaderboard, still with that big lead over Lee of Australia. Jack Law stretching away from James Heatley in bronze medal position. But look at that, just 0.1 of a point between Lee and Law in silver and bronze at the moment. Danny Mabbott, Ross Beattie, still down in 9th and 10th for Scotland. So warm applause for Delanyan Fernando. This his lowest degree of difficulty. Back 1.5 somersaults, half a twist for the Sri Lankan.
Showing his inexperience and also the complex nature of this sport of diving. I'm sure most of the viewers at home would not be able to do that dive, I can say that for sure. But of course, compared like for like with the rest of the Commonwealth, you can really see how that is a very low degree of difficulty. That's his twist dive done.
Danny Mabbott down in 9th of 11. Reverse 2.5 somersaults in tuck.
Starting to turn up the degree of difficulty now within his list. So jumping from 2.3 up to 3.0 for this dive. So Danny just over-rotating there, going in the water. See the toes tip back towards the diving board that he's just launched himself from. So an over rotation and 5.5 and sixes to count. 3.0 degree of difficulty. Same dive from Ross. Oh, just marginally short of vertical. Feel the frustration. That was a really nice hurdle step, toes right on the end. Good elevation. Just leaves it a touch short of vertical. And feedback from the coach and similar marks to his teammate.
Bryden Hattie at his second Commonwealth Games for Canada. Competed on the 10-metre platform in Australia, but has come down to the springboards. Back 1.5 somersaults.
Trying to save the dive there, and when you look on the replay, you'll be able to see the manoeuvre that he does underneath the water. So he's coming out of the dive, trying to give the impression the dive is upright. You can see him bend his knees there and pull his feet in, saving the dive, as it's technically known. Has he pulled the wool over the judge's eyes? Well, sevens is reasonable. He's trying to make the impression he was more vertical than that.
Liam Stone of New Zealand in 5th, but a good way off the medal pace. Forward 3.5 somersaults in tuck.
Very nice from Liam, just a tad over on the entry. It's a difficult dive to control. You see him tucking the chin in and just allowing the dive to roll ever so slightly over a vertical. He manages to keep the splash down, comes away with 7.5, so we'd be pleased with that.
Cedric Fofana has dropped somewhat after a good start for the Canadian. Back 2.5 somersaults in pike. 3.0 degree of difficulty.
No, he's done a good job on that. Difficult dive, but back 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. He's a little bit untidy, so his knees are apart, his feet are a little bit flat. He's a little bit banana man on the finish. So going in the shape of a banana. Come on, Yona.
6th on 123 points. So some way behind Yona Night Wisdom. This is 3.2 degree of difficulty though. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist. Can he move up the leaderboard?
Oh, well done, Yona. That's a huge dive, especially when you're 6'2". Look how much he puts the board in the water. Absolutely incredible. He manages to not slip off it when he's in the water that much. Waits for the diving board, gets the right elevation. Good clean entry. 72. Well done, Yona.
So here he is, Jack Law.
Let's go, Jack.
Chasing 3 Commonwealth titles from the 1 metre platform, 1 metre springboard, I should say, in a row. Reverse 2.5 somersaults in pike. 3.2 degree of difficulty for England's Jack Law.
Oh, that was an important dive. It didn't go so well for him in the prelims. It's gone better in the final, but you can see there on the end of the board his toes. He's hanging 10. He's got his, he has to really worked that dive to get it in. It's one of the skills he has, somehow managing to bend himself almost into a reverse pike shape to get that dive in.
Oh,
it's not ideal, but it is not a complete debacle.
Yeah, you heard him grimace and growl as he headed off to the showers there. Not happy with that one, Jack Law. Jordan Holden, the leader, as we head into this third dive for the Englishman. Can he hold on at the top of the standings?
Oh, well done, Jordan. I really thought that dive was going to go flying over a vertical, but he does a wonderful job. He's out late, and that is the save. So as you can see, as he goes into the water, he arches through the lower back, bends the knees, and just pulls it in. That could have easily been 5.5s. Oh, well done, he gets away. So it's a underwhelming third round dive for both Jack and Jordan. Let's see whether James can get his comeback clause on. He needs to reduce the gap that has appeared.
Yeah, 9 points behind Jack Law after the second round. James Heatley of Scotland.
Big dive. Oh, he's a little bit too keen on it. It's just such a difficult dive. Reverse 2.5 in the pike position. He is back from the end of the diving board, so he really has to attack it. Throws his hips forwards to really try and crank that rotation, and he just can't control it on the finish. So James with some work to do.
Yeah, just 5.5s, a 5 there to count. 51.2. Well, there's been some trouble in this third round, hasn't there?
It's been a bit of a shuffle on the leaderboard. Let's see how our highest qualifier, top qualifier, I should say, Shizin Lee of Australia, responds when those around him are starting to falter.
Well, he's 34 years old. He's not short of experience at big championships, and he's just waiting for the whistle.
Technical delay. There was a error with one of the inputs for James Heatley's scores. The announcer is just confirming those scores. And this is interesting, right? This is how you respond. So someone as experienced as Shizin has gone, okay, there's a delay. I'm going to go back. I'm going to get myself back in the water. I'm going to follow my pre-dive ritual. He'll use his chamois, which is the towel that the divers carry, to dry himself off to the perfect amount of moist. So he's feeling like he's in flow. He'll take his time. And because there was a technical delay, there isn't any countdown clock like there is in the weightlifting or anything. It's down to the referee's judgment. And of course, because of the technical delay, the referee will allow the diver to do what they're doing, which is drying off.
What do you make of his chamois technique?
Well, yeah, it's a bit like Nadal, isn't it? You know, the 9 bounce to the ball, a bit of a twitch, grab hold of his ear. You know, we're seeing the diving version that's right for Shizin. So there we are.
And he's ready for his reverse 2.5 somersaults in tuck. 3.0 degree of difficulty. He's seen his closest competitors falter, all apart from Jordan Holden, the Englishman. It's going well.
Oh, he's okay as well. He hasn't lit up on this third round. I mentioned his consistency earlier, and that's a very good dive. He hasn't taken the opportunity. The door was ajar then for Shizin to really put down a dive and create a little bit of distance, but he's actually splitting Jordan and Jack. Here we go.
Yeah. There he is, Jordan Holden still at the top by 7 points ahead of Lee of Australia. Jack Law in the bronze medal position. Yona Knight-Wisdom has leapt up into 4th. He's just out of a medal pace at the moment. James Heatley slips to 6th with Danny Mabbott and Ross Beattie down in 9th and 10th. Dilanyan Fernando of Sri Lanka. Back 1.5 somersaults in pike, just 2.3 degree of difficulty for the only Sri Lankan diver at these games.
Keeping his cool, doing his thing, low degree of difficulty. Doing his very best to compose, to execute.
Danny Mabbott from Scotland, 3.1 degree of difficulty. This is his toughest dive in terms of degree of difficulty. Inward 2.5 somersaults in tuck.
It was better than this afternoon's effort in the prelim. Still gets a little bit stuck on that dive. Seemed to be able to get the rotation speed that he would need. Rolling that in, just a fraction over a vertical.
.5s across the board to count for Danny Mabbott. He and Ross Beattie down in 9th and 10th. And it's the same dive for Ross.
It is indeed. Like for like. Having a bit of a battle.
Studying zoology at Edinburgh University.
Well done, Ross. Responding really well. Nice to see if you can leapfrog your teammate by way of scores on exactly the same dive, and he has clearly done that. Smoothly does it. And good grouping of scores there for Ross.
Solid stuff, 65.1. Bryden Hattie, who, if you look very closely, has excellent nail art. Maple leaves on his fingernails.
But he doesn't have excellent toe point. So worth noting again, feet flat all the way through, which is a shame and I would argue unnecessary. He points his toes are perfectly capable of being pointed. He is short of vertical, which means that the scores will reflect that 5.5s from the judges. Not having a great contest so far.
Stickler for a pointed toe is Leon Taylor. Liam Stone in 5th, just behind James Heatley of Scotland. Back 2.5 somersaults in tuck for the New Zealander. 3.0 degree of difficulty.
Yeah, this is a difficult dive, even though it's 3.0 degree of difficulty. It's very challenging. Often finishing low to the water. You can see Liam really kicking out with every ounce of his power and agility, squeezing into the tuck shape. Just needs a little bit more height from the diving board so he can drop in, giving the impression of that effortless dive.
Hardest dive on his list for Cedric Fofana of Canada. 3.3 degree of difficulty, forward 3.5.
In the pike position, just showing how difficult that dive is. Jordan absolutely nailing his forward 3.5 in the pike position. It's only been in the recent years that this dive is being used. It's so difficult. You just see there, Cedric not having enough time to complete the dive. Really short of vertical, even though high degree of difficulty, 39.4, isn't going to cut it. He's slipping down the rankings.
Yona for Jamaica has worked his way back up to 4th. It's where he finished in this event 4 years ago. Reverse 2.5 somersaults in tuck.
Yes, Jona, if he wants to challenge for the medals, and of course he wants to challenge for the medals, he just needs to turn the dials, put the pressure on those athletes still remaining. A shame there that Jona didn't quite keep didn't quite save the dive enough for 8s. He'll get 7.5s. It's good, but will it be good enough? Let's wait and see.
It's Jack Law in bronze medal position.
This was the dive that helped him in the prelims.
He's just 4 points off Lee in the silver. And 11 points off Jordan Holden in the gold medal position.
Big degree of difficulty.
3.4 inward, 2.5 somersaults in pike.
Oh, sensational again. He a little nervous there. He came out a fraction too early, in my opinion, on that dive. Squeezes his arms on entry, keeping that splashdown. He got over 80 points in the prelims, just shy of 80 points in the final. Well done, Jack.
Yeah, could that prove crucial come the conclusion of this 1 metre springboard event, the opening gold medal event at these Commonwealth Games. Jordan Holden, though,
This is the dive that he needs.
of England, leads the way.
Oh, yes, well done, Jordan. Little bit of jiggery-pokery on the finish there, so dropping his feet, arching his back and just working the dive in. So it wasn't as smooth as it needed to be. Little bit of a crimp in his knees. I don't know whether the judges would have seen that in real time. So there's a mix of scores coming in for this one, 6.5 and 8. So the judge awarding in at 8 didn't see the crimp in the knees, so he got away with that slightly, but that means it's tight as you like on the leaderboard. Still 2 divers to go.
Might have relinquished that top spot. James Heatley of Scotland in 5th. 20 points off the medal positions at the moment. Work to do, James, if he's to repeat that bronze medal he won 4 years ago. Backward 2.5 somersault, 3.0 degree of difficulty.
Yeah, it's good from James, but really he's got some points to make up. So there's still 2 more dives to go. Will it be enough to catch up? I don't know for James.
So Lee Shizin is in the silver medal position at the moment, 7 points behind Jordan Holden, who was at the top of the standings after round 3. Back 2.5 somersaults in tuck for the Australian world bronze medalist this year.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. As I've mentioned before, back 2.5 tuck is such a difficult dive to do. So even the world bronze medalist finishing low to the water, he's probably going to get 6.5, 7 from the judges on that. We'll see him fall behind. Yeah, he's a little bit of a gap.
Down
interesting
into 3rd.
Leaderboard. Interesting leaderboard.
Yeah, he
here it
slipped
is.
down. And look at that. Jack Law, the defending champion, has worked his way up to the top of the leaderboard. Over a point ahead of Jordan Holden now, with Australia's Lee Shizin in the bronze medal position. James Heatley still in 5th. And Danny Mabbott and Ross Beattie still in 9th and 10th for Scotland. Right, penultimate round of dives then. Dulanyan Fernando of Sri Lanka. Forward 2.5 somersaults in pike, 2.6 degree of difficulty, with the big one to come.
Yes, nice effort from Dial. So pleased that he's finding his way into this competition, steadying his nerves. Had a rough time, particularly on the last dive in the prelims. And that's his highest scoring dive of the day so far. Well done.
Danny Mabbott, 3.0 degree of difficulty forward, 3.5 somersaults in tuck for the Scotsman.
Well done, Danny. Just a little bit of an over-rotation as he goes in. He really attacked that dive. Didn't go so well for him in the prelims. Much better effort here in this evening's final. Just tucking his chin in as the dive over-rotates. Very difficult to line up your body effectively to get that vertical entry.
And it's the back-to-back Scotsman. Same dive, forward 3.5 somersaults for Ross Beattie.
Well, you can't fault his effort and commitment to that dive, putting the board all the way into the water. Huge height and elevation, just waits a fortnight too late to come out of the diving. Over-rotates. Such a shame. The aerial work was fantastic.
Just 5s to count then for Ross. His first Commonwealth Games. Bryden Hattie with a 3.2.
What a dive.
It's his most challenging dive of the list.
Yeah, and didn't he do well? Forward 2.5, one twist. 3.2 degree of difficulty. He's probably left it too late to catch up with the business end of the field, but at least he's finding his way.
7s and 7.5s, 68.8. Best dive of the night for him. Liam Stone in 6th. There is a long way between him and the bronze medal position. Reverse 2.5 somersaults in tuck, 3.0 degree of difficulty for the New Zealander.
Beautiful dive from our New Zealander. Waits on that diving board. He's neat and tidy. Good toe point. Beautiful reach back. Smoothly into the water. Close to 70 points on that. So it's 3.0. Should get 8s. Mixture. A little glimmer of what this young man can do. 3.2, reverse 2.5 somersaults in the pike position. So he really gets after the dive. Smoothly pulls that in. He was on better form in this afternoon's prelim. But that's a little bit, there we are. Celebrations with the coach as our eyes move to Jona, who's just outside the medals.
Yeah, 12 points off the bronze medal position. Jona Knight-Wisdom, and this, his most challenging dive. 3.4 degree of difficulty, huge this. Inward 2.5 somersaults in pike. Could be crucial for his chances.
Oh no, he's left it short of vertical, which isn't unusual because it's so difficult, this dive. Maybe getting after it a little bit little bit more patience needed to wait for the diving board. That's a shame for Jona. That will probably cost him a medal.
Yeah, just 6 is to
What a
count.
shame.
But here's the man they've all come to see. 3-time Olympic medalist, 5-time Commonwealth champion. Jack Law of England. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist in pike. 3.2 degree of difficulty for the man at the top of the standings, with 1 dive left after this.
Well, there you go. It needed to be good, and it was better than good. It was exceptional. Beautiful 5th round dive from Jack Law. When he needed it, he was able to dig in and produce it. Sign of a true champion. The experience really coming through, dealing with the adrenaline and putting the pressure firmly on his teammate.
Yeah, he said the prelim was just blowing the cobwebs away. He's looking polished. Jordan Holden in the silver medal position. That would be such a success for this young man. His first Commonwealth Games.
Yes, Jordan, come on. Well done indeed. So good. Really nice technique. Looks back at the diving board, just checking where it is. Grabs his hands. Just a little bit of an over-rotation. But nice and steady. Here's Tom Owens, his coach. The feedback. Off he goes, away from the pool side. Let the other divers do their thing. He's not interested. He's in his competition routine, allowing everything to happen.
Now, as James Heatley left it a bit late, 22 points off the medals, but this is a huge dive for the Scotsman. 3.4 degree of difficulty, inward 2.5 somersaults in pike. Needs this to be excellent to keep his chances alive.
Well, it's superb from James Heatley. Absolutely superb. Hardest dive that he performs, 3.4 degree of difficulty. He's a little bit low to the water. He's going to get over 70 points, but he has probably got too much to do for the medals. Let's wait and see.
Did a good job of that. 74.8 could prove crucial. And this is the same dive, 3.4 degree of difficulty for Lee Shizin of Australia, currently in the bronze medal position, looking to close the gap on the 2 Englishmen at the top of the standings.
Oh my word, that is magnificent. Yes, look at even a little fist pump on the way out. Wow, Shizin really showing his experience here. 3.4 degree of difficulty, drops in nicely. This will be the highest scoring dive we've seen in this final. And just when he needed it, just when I thought he might be slipping behind the curveball, he has catapulted himself back up into second.
Yes, and that pushes Jordan Holden down into bronze. The Englishman behind by 4 points now. Jack Law is in the lead by 10 points. Jack Law closing in then on 3 consecutive 1 metre Commonwealth titles. Scotland's Danny Mabbott in 9th and 10th. James Heatley up to 4th. Can he make it into the medals?
Oh, it's getting very tense, isn't it? Slight pause. And Tonya Couch and I just discussing what is going on here, because it's been a fascinating contest, hasn't it? How do you characterise the way things have moved and the wonderful start from a certain Jordan Holden?
Yes, a really, really good dive. In his prelim earlier, the first dive was a little bit shaky. He did look quite nervous, but he went into this with his head held high, and I just felt straight away I knew he was going to get that dive.
Well, this young man is only 24 years of age. He's the new man on the block, as it were, for British diving. And this is his first major games in the Commonwealth Games, obviously, and he's had a bit of a breakthrough in the Grand Prix. But you were saying this morning, before the first of his dives, which we're just about to see here, you were saying that he looked just a little bit nervous on this big stage.
That's it. And, of course, you've got a massive crowd cheering your name. Of course you're going to be nervous, so that's why it's nice to get the prelim done. But he definitely didn't look so nervous now, did he?
Tell me what you liked about this dive, Tonya.
Wow, he took off really, really strong, and the way he came out was so solid. Look how high he gets. And, of course, hardly any splash at the end. This morning, he was a little bit in a pike shape on the entry, and this time was a much better performance.
Well, he kept that going, didn't he? He was leading after the second round of dives. But as for Jack Law, he's very experienced, clearly, but he too had, well, not shaky, not at all, but just getting into the competition in the prelims this morning. He actually qualified in 4th place, but you could see him beginning to warm up as the dives continued right through. This was, I believe, his first. How did you rate this for an opener?
Of course, that was much, much better. A tiny little bit over. He has done better, but, you know, for a first dive, to start the competition off, it's pretty solid.
And by the time we get to round 4, Jack taking the lead, and you could sense that the chase was on. Did you firmly believe that he was going to move straight into contention with this one?
Of course. You could just see it in his face. He's an experienced diver now. He knows what he needs to do to get up there, for sure. OK. Describe the degree of difficulty involved in this 4th dive for us, Tonya. Yes, this is a much, much harder dive. You know, it's an inward 2.5 somersaults pike. It's one of the highest on the 1 metre. And, of course, with the entry like that, you're going to get overall a huge, huge score. Right, well, it's been chopping and changing, and we've certainly seen some very good British talent on show, not just from England, obviously, but from Scotland. James Heatley has been a coming man in this sport for a very long time. Bronze medalist the last time, 2 bronze medals at the World Championships, and the grandson of Sir Peter Heatley, who was one of Scotland's greatest ever Commonwealth Games athletes, 3 gold medals himself. And he's certainly following in the family footsteps here, isn't he? Just describe his progress here, because there was a feeling, I think, from Kat that perhaps he'd left his charge just a little too late before we go into this last one. Yeah, you know, nerves can get to you a little bit, and of course he's got a lot of pressure from his granddad to follow in his footsteps. But, you know, we're on the 1 metre. It is a good practice round, and hopefully he takes off the nerves and he gets in and sorts it out on the 3 metre. OK, he's capable of great things. This one here, tell us about what we were looking for in this, Tonya. So, with this dive, of course, he needs to get good height to fit everything in, because the pike shape is going to make the dive a lot harder, and that is such a fantastic dive. He hardly gets any splash, and that is exactly what the judges will be looking for. All right, so James certainly in the mix for the medals, because after that round, he is in 4th place. But Shizhen Lee of Australia, wow, what a riposte in that penultimate round. And he's certainly got himself well into contention here. How much did you enjoy this one, and what was there to admire in it? Well, I mean, look at the height, and actually he, with this dive, was the highest scoring dive of the competition. So, yeah, he's completely just worked himself right up there, hasn't he? Fingers crossed James does an excellent dive for the next dives. OK, so at the moment we've got Law, Lee, and we've got Holden of England and Heatley in 4th place. Wow. Tell us about the nerves as you come into the last round of diving, round 6, Tonya. Well, it's a little bit of a mix. Some people actually watch the scoreboard, but some people don't, and they're kind of off in the corner listening to music. So it's exactly the same round after round. Are you ready? Ready for round 6? Of course, of course. OK, we're going to ask everybody to move over now to BBC One, because the last round of this men's 1 metre springboard will be taking place there very shortly. Tonya will be with you, and Claire is about to step into the chair at the start of her shift. So I will bid you farewell. Enjoy the final round from us all here. Bye for now.